Hello, everybody. We are back for our final video in this session. We will have more, but moving forward, we're going to be discussing some other things. As always, like the video if you get anything of value at the beginning, middle, end. Even afterwards, if you think about it tomorrow, then you're like, come back and like it, please. If you can subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment. As I said, those are definitely helpful. As of right now, I am trying to respond to every comment on every video. So please take advantage, but please do not ask for any type of legal advice because I will not respond to those. So we have Miss Fulton back with us again. And this one, as promised, we are going to be talking about the trucking industry and taxes. And we might throw a few other tips in the mix because right now, not just driving the trucks, but dispatchers, like this is the hot market right now that everybody wants to get in. And as they say, you can own a truck, never drive the truck, don't own a truck, just do dispatching. Yep. So this definitely, we're going to, of course, start with talking about the taxes. And then, other things might get thrown in there. So Miss Fulton, brief bio for those who have not watched the other videos. And then, as always, I'm going to check the live stream to see if there's questions and acknowledge those as well.
Yes, ma'am. So a little bit about me. My name is Dorcas Fulton. I'm the owner of Top Tier Financial and Business Solutions. We basically simplify the lives of business owners by making sure that we take care of the tedious work that's behind the scenes. And that involves like bookkeeping, taxes, business structuring, making sure your business is compliant, so on and so forth. Those are the types of things that we focus on. We specialize in the trucking and real estate industries, which is why I'm going to enjoy this one tonight. Not that I didn't enjoy the other ones, but I am. But I've been just in the financial industry for about 10 years. I started my business about 3 years ago, and it's been going great so far.
Okay, well, this is how we're going to start this one, okay? When you're thinking about, we're going to start with owner operators because we know there's a long list of deductions that they can have. But before that, we highly recommend that you watch the previous video on employee versus independent contractor because the most confusion that I am aware of happens in the trucking industry. Yes. Many of times where truckers are labeled as independent contractors, but in fact, they are employees. So you really want to make sure you know your designation before you even think about potential deductions and get into doing your taxes.
Exactly.
So,
and to kind of like piggyback off of that, if you're an employee of a company, meaning you receive a W-2 at the end of the year, and you're being reimbursed for any expenses that you have, those are no longer tax deductions, which is why it's really important to go back and watch the other video, W-2 versus 1099, to make sure that you understand what your status is and what it actually should be. And actually, if you're not designated as the right thing, your employer could be fined. So make sure you go back and watch that one.
Now, we're not recommending that you do all this and then you try to go tell your person that I'm an employee and I'm going to find you now. This is not legal advice. Please seek a lawyer to make sure, because as we said in the other video, there are 26 factors that have to be considered before a decision can be made. We gave the basics, a starting point, and then from there you can make the decision if in fact, okay, let me look into this a little bit further. So this is not advice to show up at work with an attitude saying that you're an employee. And demanding things, right? So let's just start with some of the basic deductions that truckers most likely are aware of,
Mhm.
you know, and then we can go into the ones that, oh, I didn't even think about that I can actually, you know, get a tax deduction or write-off or credit, the difference between those. And our first video was on deductions, credit, write-outs, all those types of things as well, because there is a difference.
There's a huge difference between the two. So don't mind me, I did take notes. If you see me looking down, it's because I took notes. Because there are so many different aspects to the trucking industry, I wanted to make sure that I covered and I hit all of the major parts tonight. So as far as tax deductions for truckers, they're pretty much the basic ones for everyone, you know, your gas, your fuel, your equipment, being able to depreciate your truck over years. If you made any improvements to the truck, say for instance, you rebuilt an engine, that's a tax deduction and that can be depreciated. Some other tax deductions, just like anyone else, are like your membership dues, your subscriptions. If you were to purchase like a tablet or an iPad, these are the type of deductions that most people have, you know, just in general. But go ahead.
Oh, before you get too far into the conversation, can you talk about depreciation? Because I think that can be a bit confusing, determining how many years, how much per year. Let's say you purchased a truck for $50,000.
Yes.
What does that look like over time when you're using depreciation? And I'm probably not saying the sentence correctly, but what does that look like?
Okay, so technically you take a percentage of your truck and you depreciate it over time. Mm-hmm. So what you basically do in your first year, you don't want to depreciate everything. You have about 5, 10, sometimes longer to depreciate an asset, depending on how much it is. So what you're going to do is you're going to use it over a course of time. You don't have to do it every single year, but you want to make sure that you do it strategically, which is why it's important to hire a tax professional. So, for instance, that truck is like $50,000. You could write the entire thing off the first year using Section 179. But being strategic about it, if you write off $50,000, your income was $100,000. Now you done wrote off half of your income. So now all you have is $50,000 in revenue, which could jeopardize the growth of your business. Okay. So instead, what you want to do is you want to depreciate it over a certain period of time. So let's say we take like 5% the first year, or we say like 20% the first year, then 10% the next year, then 5% the next year. So it's and then you take a little break because you realize, oh, I want to purchase a house, or oh, I want to purchase another truck. So you want your income to stay high. So we're not going to depreciate it that year. So then we skip over that year, we move to the next year and depreciate it that year.
So is there a time limit though? So if I want to depreciate my truck, do I have to depreciate it over, you know, a 5-year period? Or could it be 20 years I'm depreciating a $50,000 truck?
You depreciate it until you have zero, until its worth is zero.
Really? Wow. Okay. So, but are there certain things that you can depreciate? Or could I don't know, I buy a $500 printer and I want to depreciate that over time. Is that an option?
Yes, it is. It's a depreciable asset. Okay.
So is there a list of these items? Or so there's a list of depreciable items.
It's one of those words.
It's one of the words that a lawyer, we don't use that word. Okay. So if it's that, and does the IRS have a list? And I don't know, I buy something and then I check the list, or how would I know I can do that with my item?
You would need to contact a tax professional. The IRS is going to give you like a general explanation of what type of item can be depreciated over time. but a tax professional will have a list of things.
Okay.
Essentially, it's anything that is an asset to the company. That's why it's a depreciable asset.
Okay.
That way, like anything that's usually over $300, you can depreciate over time because technically it's considered an asset.
Okay. Got it. So over 300 is the threshold.
Yes.
And then from there, the tax professional. So when we're thinking about our business, so what's maybe the top 5 items? We know, a vehicle would be one that's, a larger purchase. What are, I guess, even if it's top 3 that most businesses would have? Trucking businesses. Yeah, will have that you can depreciate.
Okay. The truck, of course. You can depreciate a tablet or an electronic device that you need to purchase.
Okay.
You can depreciate, let's say, a lot of truckers that are over the road for long periods of time. You can depreciate a refrigerator that you purchased for your truck if it is your truck.
Okay.
You can also depreciate. I'm trying to think of like big items that they purchase.
That's top 3. I mean, just something that, like, I wouldn't have thought that my refrigerator, I could appreciate it over time. So that's why I really want to get into these items that in the trucking industry, they have more deductions. And when I say more, it's typically if you're an owner operator, that you're not being mindful of things outside of repair costs and like you said, fuel. Those things are gonna immediately, you're gonna know, okay, I can get a deduction for this.
Yeah.
So now, what are some other items for truckers when thinking about their taxes?
Okay, so some other items is kind of it can also work for dispatchers because dispatchers, depending on how big you are, a dispatching company will have a lot of equipment, like different monitors, different computers, so that they have a complete system in place so that they can dispatch properly. But mainly as far as the trucking industry, some other ones are like licensing fees. Fees for DLT physical. So your consortium is a tax deduction.
Really?
Yes, because it's part of your business compliance. So it's the requirement. Yeah. So technically anything that is ordinary and necessary in order for you to run your trucking company, in order for you to be an owner operator, it can be a deduction for you. Okay.
So I'm trying to think of, I mean, like, what are other things though that they're not gonna think about when getting ready for their taxes? We got the refrigerator, we got
your electronic devices, your per diem. Per diem is basically whenever you're over the road for long. Well, the government basically allows you a certain amount of per diem for like whenever you're over the road for long periods of time and you're not at your actual home location. And it's not something that, it's not a trip that you can literally go back and drive home at the same amount of time. So they'll take that and then you can write off like your meals and stuff if you're an owner operator. So that'll be a part of your per diem. So like lodging, if you had to stay overnight in a hotel, let's say for instance, you have a day cab, meaning you don't really have you don't have a sleeper. Yeah. And so now you have to get a hotel room. So your lodging can be written off. If your truck breaks down and your insurance doesn't cover a rental vehicle, then the rental vehicle and the gas for that rental vehicle is a deduction. So it's all of these different things for owner operators that they have that are tax deductions. Literally anything pertaining to your actual trucking company can be deducted. Now, one more thing though. One more thing. Your safety, like usually, unless you're in the entertainment industry, clothing is not a tax deduction because of the type of business that you have as an owner operator. The clothing, like your steel-toe boots, safety clothing, safety gear, if you need safety goggles, certain specific gloves, if you need to wear a certain type of outfit, all of these things are tax deductions also.
Okay, because that's what I was thinking too, because I know sometimes, like for example, with Amazon, you're required to wear certain things, even inside of their warehouse, whether it's, you know, what is that, the little safety orange
safety,
jacket?
bag.
The little jacket thing, and like you said, the steel toe boots
Mhm.
and all of those types of things that you would have to have. Now, what about mileage?
Mileage, that's kind of like a gray area. You can say yes, but it technically you're supposed to either write off fuel or your miles. So you already know that on the actual truck, those miles are for the truck. It's literally no way around it. It's not like you're gonna go to Lowe's and
I mean, if you buy something that you can't take home in your car, you might take your truck to Lowe's. So you won't have to pay for it.
So yeah, usually it's either miles or fuels, and that's literally across the board for that portion. But another one is your labor costs, like if you were to subcontract something out. So for instance, those dispatchers that you're hiring to get you those load boards, those are expenses for your business. They're ordinary and they're necessary because you'll be on the road. You technically can't be looking at a load board while you're driving.
You can't. So it's very difficult to watch the road and book a load.
Exactly. So those dispatchers that you hire.
Uh-oh. Miss Fulton has frozen on us. So let's give her a couple of seconds and see what happens. She might have to exit out and come back in. But in the interim, we can talk about the different load boards and things that I was going to discuss. I'm actually going to send her a text message. This is what happens when you're live. So some other deductions to think about is the cost of a lot of these load boards, right? Because you'll end up having to pay a certain, I don't know if it's monthly, annually, quarterly, etc. So that's definitely something you want to think about as far as getting a deduction, because I know sometimes individuals don't want to pay for the various load boards, but if you're going to get a deduction at the end of the year, it opens the door for you to have more opportunities in your business. Then I would highly recommend signing up for different load boards and then using that as a deduction for the end of the year. And she is back with us. So as I was explaining that we're live, you're on mute, ma'am. You're on mute. The number one phrase since COVID is you're on mute. So
sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, you're freezing just a little bit. I mean, I just mentioned using, you know, the load boards, the fees for that will be a deduction as well if you're signing up for different ones, and just being mindful that, yeah, it's an expensive cost, but if in turn you're going to get more loads, you get more money into your business, it's going to be a deduction anyway. So don't be too hesitant to sign up for different load boards. You should always do your research, because there are some out there that I'm aware of that you sign up, you don't get much from it, and then it's very difficult to cancel. You end up in a group of trying to cancel, especially if you have a box truck versus an 18-wheeler. A lot of these load boards will advertise that they have things for a box truck, but in actuality, they don't. They're looking for 18-wheelers only. So you sign up, you pay the fees, and then you call them and say, hey, I got a box truck. And they're saying, oh, we have something on there, but there's nothing. And then, like I said, you end up in this loop of a cycle where you're not able to cancel. So that's something to think about as well. Now that we've discussed the load boards, the dispatchers, what are some other deductions that truckers should think about? What about, are there trainings that happen for truckers? I'm not
Not necessarily, no. There aren't really trainings or really continuing education. But the people that they outsource, as far as like the people that do their back end work. So if they are outsourcing to a back end or like a CFO type company, so where they handle their consortium, they handle their logs, their ELDs, they handle making sure that
What's
all
ELD?
of their logs,
ELD?
Yeah, their ELD.
No, what is that?
Oh, sorry.
Like acronym on top of acronym.
Sorry. So ELD is their electronic logging.
Okay, that. Okay.
So that's where they keep track of their load. Well, not their loads per se, but their miles.
Okay.
So how far they're going, how far they went here, how far they went there, how much time they took on breaks, so on and so forth. That's a part of their compliance because they have a limited amount of time that they can drive. So the electronic log is where they keep track of all of this. Some people have the ELD, some people have paper logs.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend getting an ELD, but if your ELD does shut down, use a paper log.
Now, what about different courses though, right? Because there's so many courses that are available nowadays through social media. And again, please do your research before sign up for a lot of these dispatching courses, how to get into the trucking industry courses. There's one course, I won't name it on the channel, that I would, if I was looking for the trucking industry, I would sign up for, only because this person has, like 13 trucks, has an entire fleet of trucks, been in the industry for 10 or more years. So something like that. But if it's someone that you can't even fact check what they do or how they got into the business, or if they're in the business, and they're likely pulling stuff from, Google and wherever, and packaging it to sell, and then it doesn't really give you what you need.
Exactly.
But I'm thinking for educational purposes, though, you would be able to write that off, regardless if you got anything from it or not, if you're already, in the industry, have a business.
Usually it just depends on what sector you're in the business, because usually as an owner operator, there's really no continuing education courses or anything that they really are required to take as an owner operator. Now there is one thing though. So in the trucking industry, you have what are called endorsements, such as hazmat, such as the TWIC card, so on and so forth. These endorsements some of these endorsements have to be renewed every year. That's a tax deduction. But going back to your courses, if you're a dispatcher, if you're taking dispatching courses, yes, those courses, those continuing education courses are a tax deduction. If there's fees along with those courses, that's a tax deduction. But like Ebony was saying, please vet. Vet these dispatching courses. I have two people that I would recommend, but that's about it right now that I personally know, and I've seen them in the industry and I've been watching them. So definitely vet them, because there have been too many instances where I've seen people say, oh, I just spent $600 on a dispatching course and I ain't learned nothing. It's usually because that person is either not in the industry, or that person just took a course themselves and then they flipped it and now they created a course out of it. So make sure you vet your people. But yes, continuing education courses are tax deductions. And that's just really across the board. But in the trucking industry, the only people that really take those are dispatchers or like freight brokerages, if they're looking to add things onto their business.
And that's what I'm thinking. If I have one truck and I'm interested in getting a fleet, and I don't have the wherewithal to navigate outside of one truck, because there are so many people I know, especially on YouTube, right? That they have these courses, and they are people that are in the industry. And I would think that if I'm taking that course in order to grow my business, that it would be a deduction.
It is.
Because otherwise, I'm not going to be able to grow my business because I don't know how to get to step 2. I got step 1, which is my one truck.
Yep. But it is a deduction. Any courses that you take that coincide with your business or coincide to the growth of your business, it is considered a tax deduction.
Okay. Now, are there credits that truckers can get?
Not specific to the trucking industry.
Okay.
They will still have the same, pretty much the same credits. And I did do a lot of research on it. They would pretty much have the same credits across the board. The main things that their credits or deductions are, the big things, are really the equipment, because in the trucking industry, their equipment is so expensive. You could spend up to $15,000 in 1 year on maintenance on your truck alone. Your tires alone are exactly. That's just your tires. And then sometimes you purchase a truck and now you have to rebuild your engine. So all of these things are expenses for it. So as far as like credits, there aren't per se any real credits specific to the trucking industry.
Okay, so the maintenance costs would be deductions, is what you're saying. Trying to, like, what else? Well, what if they have a home office, right? They would still have those deductions for sure.
Yes, the home office, tools, equipment, tolls, parking. So like, if you're over the road, and sometimes when you're because we have them when you're intrastate, meaning that you're inside of the state, you have tolls. For instance, in North Carolina, we have tolls on some of our roads. Those tolls are tax deductions. Also, parking fees, parking tickets. Yeah, they do have it. Parking tickets
are a deduction.
Because it's a fee, it's an expense for your business that you had to kick out.
Wow.
But it's for the truck. It's not for a car, it's for
right.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to think, as a truck, you don't know you parked in the wrong spot this big.
Not necessarily, depending on what state you in. It's like where I'm gonna park.
And then you just park and get a ticket.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be cheaper to get the ticket than to, drive around and waste fuel costs. I'm not saying go get
Yeah, please don't do that.
Yeah. But you're thinking about those types of things. What are some other deductions?
Showers.
What do you mean?
Because they take showers on the road. So, as an over the road driver, or sometimes when you're like intrastate, if you're out for long periods of time, let's say for instance, for a week or so, and even if you're not out for a week, this is just general, okay? So don't chop my head off. This is all general information. So, yes, truck drivers take showers over the road because there's no showers in their sleeper cab. And so if they are over the road, how else are they going to wash? So usually what they have, the truck stops.
You have to pay?
You pay for showers.
Really?
And yes.
How much is shower running? How much?
Depends on where it's at.
Approximately. What have you heard?
I want to say about maybe $15 to $20. Sometimes it could be a little bit more.
Is it a time limit? I got questions.
No, not really, but they will come knock on your shower if you taking too long. Yeah, in some places. Wow. I don't want to get into that. Well, some places, like, how sometimes you have couple drivers also. Okay. So when there's couple drivers, that they actually have to where you cannot shower with your partner.
Well, I can understand why.
Which is understandable because anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen. Damn.
But yes, they shower over the road. Usually they stop at a truck stop whenever they're done, or whenever they just want to take a break, and they shower at the truck stop. Now, all truck stops do not have showers, but for the most part they do. The other option they have is, as they get fuel at these different truck stops, at the same truck stop, over time they accumulate points, and those points can be applied to showers also. But yeah, they do take showers over the road.
That, you know what? I would have never thought about how do you take a shower, because I'm thinking if you're at a hotel, that would be scary if you're doing that at night.
That's their life. But usually they usually semi trucks that have sleeper cabs in them, they shower at they don't get hotel rooms unless their truck is broke down. It's like truck breakdowns. I'll go into that one also. They usually don't get hotel rooms unless they're just ready to just take a weekend off, and they have to do what is called a reset. And so whenever they do the reset, they'll either stay in their truck or they'll get a hotel room, spend time with family, so on and so forth. But yeah, if you're in a day cab, you're more than likely going to get a hotel room. If you're in a semi with a sleeper, you're more than likely going to just shower at the truck stop. Yep.
Okay, so now that we're still on this, what do you call it? Sleeper cab, sleep.
Sleeper cab.
With that, okay, what about the linen and stuff for the bed?
The linen for the bed, yep.
Okay.
Basically anything inside.
I know, but we gotta like, break it all the way down. Remember, you're speaking from the perspective of this is what I do, right?
Okay.
Making sure that people think, because I mean, now we're getting into the minutia of things where I would have never thought about my blanket, because I'm thinking about the bigger things, or the snacks that I'm purchasing to put inside of this sleeper so I can make sure that I'm, nourished. And the thing with that is now it's keeping up with all these tiny receipts, so figuring out some type of app is probably something that exists where you can, take a picture of the receipt, and then that way you don't even have to have all these receipts. It'll scan it to something. But definitely, just things.
Yep. So linen, safety glasses, sunglasses. Like you usually think, oh, I'm gonna just buy these sunglasses. They normal people that are not in the trucking industry, anyone that's not in the trucking industry, you just buy sunglasses just because. Yeah. Truckers buy sunglasses to protect their eyes from the sun while they're driving. That's a tax deduction. The linen inside of the truck is a tax deduction. If they have to purchase another bed for the truck, that's a tax deduction. Some of them have, the microwave that you purchase to put in the truck, that's a tax deduction. What else is it?
Is it a specific type of sunglasses? Could I go get me some, fancy sunglasses?
They need to be
some designer sunglasses.
No, don't.
But it's protecting my eyes.
No, don't go out and buy.
Why not?
500, unless they're prescription glasses. Don't do that. Because if
I want them to last,
a luxury pair of sunglasses, they break just like regular sunglasses. But it's spending $500 on a pair of sunglasses.
I can depreciate it, right?
No.
Why?
Not no sunglasses.
It's always
you can write it off, but we not depreciating no glasses unless they are medicinal. They're for medicinal purposes. Yeah. But even if that was, girl, what? Yes, you can get you I wish I had some up here.
Oh, what is
get you some sunglasses that have, because some people at one point in time in the world, people didn't like to wear just regular glasses. Okay. So now people went out and got sunglasses, and then the sunglasses also have medicine inside of them. And then, have you ever heard about the sunglasses that go from clear to shade? Yeah. Yeah, like those. And usually those are medicinal too. But you can get medicine and sunglasses. Okay.
Yeah, I will give me some nice sunglasses because I'm gonna have to wear them every day. Yes, I'm gonna do a write-off for my $500 sunglasses. Okay.
So let's see, what else can you
said about the truck breaking down though. Let's go back to that.
Okay, so the truck breaking down. What was I going to talk about that part? The maintenance on the truck whenever it breaks down, usually you have to go and stay in the hotel. So now That hotel stay you can completely write off. The food for that hotel stay you can completely write off. That's going to be a part of your per diem because you're not at your home base. Another thing about that, whenever you, let's say for instance, and this is just something random off the top of my head.
Okay.
Say something, you have something like a tire blowout, right? And you have to get someone to come immediately. The person that comes immediately, roadside assistance, basically. The roadside assistance that comes immediately, more than likely they're going to charge you. So that fee is a write-off. Okay. And the same thing if you had to get your truck towed, and that's a pretty penny. So if you have to get your truck towed, then that's the write-off.
Okay. I'm trying to think of other toiletries. Oh yeah. Toiletries, truck. Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because I heard there's like these portable toilets for men and women.
I want to talk about it.
No, we don't need to go into detail. But that's a deduction.
Yeah, it's a deduction.
Yeah, just thinking about things outside of the basics when you're thinking about truckers. Are there specific memberships that they're supposed to have, or is most memberships voluntary?
No, it wouldn't necessarily be considered memberships per se, but it's more of like subscriptions that they need to have. Like, and some of these don't cost. Okay. But like if they have memberships to unions or like memberships for oh my goodness, what is it called? I can't even think of the word. But any like trucking membership to where they can stay up to date on the news that's going on in the trucking industry. Okay. All of these things can be written off. Or the truckers, it's not necessarily a union per se, but it's more of like a group. It's kind of like how we have as realtors, we have the North Carolina Realtors NCREC, there we go. Yeah. We have that. We have to subscribe to that. But other things such as we don't have to be quote unquote a realtor in fact, but we do become a realtor because it's actually a trademark name. Right. So it holds a lot of weight. So realtors don't really have to be realtors. We can be considered real estate agents without having the realtor designation. Okay. And that would be a membership actually that we could write off, Yeah.
You need to write all that off. Almost $600. And I'm like, I don't even get nothing for the $600. You gotta pay $600 to have access to see properties, to show people properties. But that's a whole nother conversation. And that will be a conversation we're going to talk about is real estate investing sooner rather than later. So these subscriptions, so essentially what I'm hearing is that this stuff is voluntary. Yes. Okay. Except for like the DOT physical and all of those things. But
the DOT physical, making sure you have you do your biannual renewals for your DOT. All of these fees are tax deductions, like your UCR, which is your uniform carrier registration. That's so that you can drive on the roads. What else is there? Your IFTA taxes, your IRP is not, your tags are not.
What about licensing for the truck?
As far as
deductions, that's what we're
that's really your IRP. That's your international registration plates.
So I'm just saying, when you go to the licensing office and you pay $1,000 to register the truck and get the license plate, is that a deduction?
It's not. The property tax is deduction, so technically, yeah, we could say that.
Because I'm like, you can't drive the truck without the license. It's necessary. What do you mean property? Y'all got to pay taxes on what is this?
It's every year? It's a vehicle. It's a property tax. And then we have the 2290, which is a heavy vehicle tax for driving on the road. So yeah. That's what I mean.
You're saying it's two separate taxes?
The 2290 is a tax. You have your IFTA taxes, which is your fuel tax. You have your IRP, which is your plates. Kind of like how we have vehicle plates. Mm-hmm. That's their vehicle plates.
But is this every year?
Like we renew our registration?
Yeah. Okay. And all three okay, let me break this down. Because I'm pretty sure there's other people that's a little,
like, wait a minute.
Yeah, like let's rewind, because this is my first month driving my truck. So these three different things, is this one receipt or is it three different transactions?
Three
different transactions. Is it typically renewed at the same time? Or is it different timelines now you have to keep up with?
Different timelines, but it's done annually. Yeah. So this is why it's important to have someone on the back end just handling all of this stuff for you, because while you're on the road, you don't want to have to deal with all of this. Mm-hmm. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So like the same thing that you do whenever you initially register the trucking business as an owner operator, it's essentially the same thing you're going to do every single year. So of course you have your LLC renewals, which depending on what state you're in, it could be annual. You may not have one. It could be biannual. It could be every 3 years. On top of that, you have your 2290, which is your heavy vehicle tax. You're going to have to pay that every year. Mm-hmm. You're going to have your DLT renewal. Your DLT is like a biannual renewal, and that's the Department of Transportation. That's your number. So you have an MC number and you have a DLT number. Your DLT number needs to be renewed every 2 years.
Okay.
And that's just really an update.
Is there
there is, I want to say it's like a $300 fee. Don't quote me on that.
No worries. Just as long as we know it's not free, right? So that's the main thing. Yes. There is a couple of questions. So let me go to these from Miss Mindful Nicole. The first question is, what about if your write-off exceeds the standard $18,000 write-off? That's the first question. Mm-hmm. And then the second question, if an LLC, is there an annual fee for registration? And I don't know what that means. If she's asking, does her LLC have an annual fee? So that would depend on the state that you're in. Yeah. That's what you're asking. If it's something else, please feel free to type in your question for clarification and then we'll respond. But if you're asking specifically about an LLC, it's going to be state specific, because in Missouri, we don't have an annual fee. You sign up one time and it's perpetual. And the only way you honestly get kicked out normally is if you get administratively dissolved. And that's because you don't have a registered agent or you don't have a valid address anymore.
So she just answered your second question.
Yeah. Well, it was a legal question. So that one I can handle, but I don't know anything about the first question, which is if the write-off exceeds the standard $18,000 write-off.
If it exceeds the standard $18,000, then what you will do is an itemized deductions. Okay. So you have two different options whenever you deduct, and this is anyone, everywhere, so on and so forth. So you can itemize your deductions if it's over the $18,500. So if you reach $20,000, let's say $20,000 in deductions, instead of just accepting the itemized, because that's what they do. If your deductions are under $18,500, then they just accept $18,500 because that's the minimum. That's the bare minimum for it.
Okay.
Now, if you have over the $18,500, it's going to take a little bit more work, because now you have to literally itemize what every single thing is. So it's going to be those memberships and subscriptions, your refrigerator, your load boards,
your linen.
Yep, your linen, your portable showers. Yeah, so you're literally going to have to figure out how much every single one of these things are and have proof That's the key word. You have to prove these expenses. And so you're just going to itemize them. Long story short, that's what it is.
Okay. So that question, and then that's it over there. Are there other deductions, items for us to think about when it comes to the trucking industry specifically?
As far as deductions or just in general?
In general, well, let's talk about just briefly, because she was asking a question about an LLC. Is it going to be similar, right? When we think about, do I want to be an LLC? Right? You incorporate as LLC. But we had the conversation on a previous video about your tax designation as an S Corp. It seems like the trucking industry will make over this $50,000 threshold that was discussed on the previous video. What does that look like? Because probably most truckers, if they have an LLC and they don't have an accountant, they're not even thinking about, okay, let me do this different tax designation.
So in the trucking industry in general, you can make a whole lot of money.
Yes.
But it really just depends on your grind in it, for one, because you have a lot of competition. And then two, how hard you work and what all you're willing to put into it. So yes, in the trucking industry, your first year in business, you can make six figures. Now, making six figures and profiting six figures are two different things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, in the trucking industry, after you've done all of the front end expenses, usually they kind of dwindle down, and your main expense is going to be your maintenance on the vehicle. Then after that, that's when you see your profits increase more and more and more. And that's the same thing for dispatching. Most of your expenses are upfront. And then the only thing with dispatches is that you may have like dues or memberships that you have to continue to pay for, but they're small compared to the amount of money that you could make. So as far as the taxes goes for them with the LLC, and I highly recommend an LLC or a corporation in the trucking industry because it is very, very high risk. So don't go into a sole proprietorship. Please I don't care whether it's dispatching, owner operator, day cab. I don't care.
I think it might be difficult to get on some of these load boards as a sole proprietor, honestly.
It may be difficult, but yeah, make sure you do that. Yeah. Protect yourself. So when it actually comes down to the tax designation, what you would do is you need to keep track of your finances. And as soon as you reach that mark, you need to go ahead and switch over to S Corp. I would say,
pause for a second. If you please don't lose your thought.
Okay.
When she says switch over to S Corp is not a legal entity. It's a tax designation. So you're not going to amend your LLC to become an S Corp.
Exactly. You're just going to amend your tax identity. And that's by filing the form, Lord, 2553, if I'm not mistaken.
Just file the form.
Yeah.
Her accountant will do that for you.
But whenever you see your numbers increase and your expenses decrease and you project it, that's why it's very important to keep track of your finances so that you can forecast or project, which is basically an assumption of how much you feel like you're going to make compared to the market. And so you take those two numbers and you create a forecast for your trucking business. But whenever you see yourself approaching that, go ahead and file that form to choose the S Corp tax identity so that it can somewhat be retroactive so that you're saving somewhat on taxes. Because in the trucking industry, It's very iffy whenever it comes to, well, it's not iffy. It's just plain and simple. The money that you bring in whenever you have a business is not your money, point blank, period. That money is the business money, and then you pay yourself.
Mhm.
So you can choose S Corp near the end of the year and still be okay. It's nothing wrong with that. But make sure you switch at an appropriate time. That way, whatever additional income you have coming in is being taxed as S Corp instead of self-employment. Because now you can actually put yourself on what is called payroll. You cannot put yourself on payroll as a LLC, but you can put yourself on payroll as a with the S Corp tax identity. So with that, now you can pay yourself and you're only being taxed on what you're paying yourself. Plain and simple.
So, 2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 1 question, then a comment. First question, what are the benefits of the S Corp for a trucker? And we're obviously talking about owner operator. My comment statement is, please remember that if you're an owner operator, you're not on payroll. Remember, taxes aren't being taken out. So when you get ready to file your taxes, you might have a high tax liability, especially if you was just rolling in dough, traveling, frolicking, living your best life, because you know the money is just coming and it's coming directly to you and you're having a good time. And then you get to the end of the year, you do your taxes, whatever deductions, write-offs, credits, etc. And you find out that, yeah, but I'm saying, but then you find out after that I'm not getting a refund, which is a beautiful thing, which means you made a lot of money, but you aren't putting any money aside to pay your taxes. Just keep remembering, owner operator, nobody's taking taxes from you at all.
Exactly.
So now the
benefits of choosing S Corp is that now instead of you paying all of your taxes, your company is going to pay part of that taxes, and then you're going to pay that taxes. Okay. Now you're being paid as an employee, where the company is actually taking that tax out that you owe. Okay. Right? So now you're still paying taxes, but it's already being paid in throughout the year, just like if you were the employee of another company. Mm-hmm. So instead of you trying to fumble around, trying to figure out how much your quarterly taxes should be, it's already being paid in. That's one of the benefits. The other benefit is that now you can pay yourself through dividends. Mm-hmm. Paying yourself through dividends is taxed at a lower rate, which is basically dividends is like a lump sum of money that you pay yourself at a certain period of time.
Is it quarterly? Annual?
It's up to you.
It's up to me.
Yeah, it would be
like a bonus.
Kind of, sort of like a bonus, but it's not called a bonus. It's called your dividends. Yeah. Okay. So it's a percentage of what the profit. Keyword is profit.
Okay. So you can't just give yourself a dividend.
No, don't do that.
I deserve a few extra dollars, so go ahead.
No. So don't sit here and say, "Oh, I made $100K. I made $100K, so I'm gonna give myself a $1,000, $2,000 dividend." Mm-hmm. Nope. You got to calculate your expenses and then go off of that.
Now, can you pick whatever percentage this dividend is, or is it regulated?
Yeah, you can pick whatever percentage it is.
Okay. Now, this is something to think about now, because it's going to be weird because it's just you, but now you're an employer and an employee in one. Mm-hmm. There are some legal requirements once you're an employer and you have an employee, right? So if I'm working full time, I'm supposed to get health insurance paid for from the company, which is myself. Yeah. If I injure myself at work, my company, I can sue the workers' comp. Realistically, if I'm the owner and the employee, I don't know if I would sue myself because my insurance would go up, but if it's a major accident and I got millions of dollars in insurance, I'm going to go ahead and sue my company and get my $1 million payout because I'm injured. Mm-hmm. But being mindful that the insurance will go up. So, like I said, it's kind of quirky because you got to now, if you do this S Corp and you're on payroll, you got to think about yourself as both an employee and an employer, right? But again, it's going to be less likely that you're going to take advantage of your own company.
Exactly.
You know, but don't go do no fraudulent stuff because I know a lot of people start you like, oh, I'm an employee, so my employer, myself, is paying for a lot of stuff that an employer typically wouldn't pay.
Would not.
Yeah,
exactly.
So just keep it professional. Keep it professional. Are there any other items you can think of? I don't see any other questions.
Okay.
And then also with the boot camp, we will go into more detail about employees, handbooks, employee relations, all of that. And this will not just be, this isn't specific to the trucking industry. This is just specific to someone whose business is at the capacity to now hire employees. Don't know the launch of the boot camp, but my goal is in the next 2 months. Yes, the next 2 months is the goal. And I'll have more details when we do the Zoom party for my 1,000 subscribers that I reached about a week ago. I know. We're
almost at 3,000 now.
I know. I'm actually excited, and it's so crazy because the last time I talked about my subscribers prior to this Zoom thing that I'm trying to put together, I was like, I'm at 300. So the fact that I was that ecstatic about 300 and now essentially it's 3,000, and I'm still just as excited because it's unreal, really, right? So we're gonna talk about that in more detail. I'm definitely gonna get, input from the audience of things that you would like to see, because it's awesome for me to put a course together that I think is gonna, assist with the masses. Of course, certain things just has to be in there, but I definitely want to make sure that I'm giving people what they want, so it doesn't give the appearance of, it's a waste of time and I spent this money and I was expecting this and I didn't get that. So kind of like a focus group at the Zoom party is what we're going to do. And please drink after you give me your input so I can make sure that we're not too buzzed. So that's that. But if you got anything of value from this video, because this is our last meeting in this section. This isn't the last time we'll see Miss Fulton, because she is definitely going to come back and talk about her notary, not the course, but just in general, the do's and don'ts, etc. Like the video if you got anything of value. Please subscribe because I got a lot of grants that I need to put out. I know it's been a while, but as I said before, life took over my little world and I am slowly getting back into the groove of things. Leave a comment. As I said at the beginning of the video, I definitely am trying to respond to all comments except for those that are requesting legal advice, because I'm not your lawyer, no attorney-client relationship, and I don't want to lose my license by the unauthorized practice of law because I'm not licensed in all 50 states. So, Ms. Fulton, if you can, as always, give us a summary, maybe give us like some top 3 takeaways about the trucking industry, and give us the deets on your notary course that's coming up.
Yes, I can. So, in summary, the main things that you want to think about in whenever you're getting into or you're already in the trucking industry is outsourcing your back end. That's going to be your number one thing, because a lot of you're not going to want to handle the tedious work while you're over the road or handling receipts or trying to keep track of receipts. Get you a bookkeeping software and get you either a bookkeeper, accountant, or a CPA that you can talk to. The other thing is making sure that your business stays compliant, because you could be shut down like that with semi trucks. So you want to make sure that you make sure the back end of your business is taken care of. Your DLT, your IFTA, your IRP, your 2290 forms, making sure that you have accurate logs, making sure that your logs are right. Those of you that see my face understand what I say when I'm saying that. Making sure you're doing your physicals, making sure that your consortium, your insurance, all of that is in order. So it's best to just go ahead and outsource this. If you're not a papers person, if you're not a numbers person, just go ahead and outsource this. Another thing for the trucking industry in general is just keep track of your finances. That's going to be one of the main things also, because once you hit that certain point, that 50 to 60,000 in net profit, you're going to want to go ahead and do that switch, because that switch to an S corp tax identity is really going to benefit you and your business in the long run. One more thing is making sure that you know the proper designation that you're supposed to be, whether it's supposed to be independent contractor or W-2 employee, because you don't want to hop in and somebody hire you on as a 1099 independent contractor, but you're providing everything for yourself. They're just dictating where you're supposed to go and where you're not supposed to go. So now you're supposed to be now technically you're supposed to be an employee in that one aspect of trying to figure out what your true employment designation is. But those are my main things that I would say focus on and take care of, because you want your business to continue to move smoothly. You don't want any hiccups, because you could be shut down like that just in the blink of an eye, and then you lose out on a lot of money.
Okay, and before you discuss your notary course and, summary that you want us to know about you, if there are any final questions, please put them in a chat and I will look for those prior to closing out the session.
All right. So in summary about my notary course, I am a notary public and I am a loan signing agent. I'm certified in both. So I've been in the business for about 3+ years. And I decided to go from notary to LSA because you made more money. Duh.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
You do. You can make up to 90. Nope, not up to 90, but up to $200 to $250 an hour as a loan signing agent. I show you in my notary course how to actually make sure that your business is profitable whenever you do make that switch. So I don't just teach you how to do the paperwork. I actually show you how to create your parameters. I show you what resources you can use to cut down on your expenses. I can explain to you how you can build business credit in the industry so that you're using other people's money. I also have an open Q&A session so that we can discuss any questions that you may have, as in how many companies do you need to sign up for, how to sign up for these companies, how to create the files in the back end of your business to make this process much simpler, and so much more. So my course is on Sunday, February the 27th at 6 p.m. That is Eastern Standard Time. Okay. And the course is $29.99 for general admission, and it is $99.99 for VIP admission. And what that means is that you actually get 2 one-on-one 1-hour sessions with me. Highly recommend only using those sessions after you become a loan signing agent. That way we can actually discuss how you can get your foot in the door and get up and running as soon as possible. But you can get those tickets on my website at toptierfbs.com. Just go to my events page and it's right there in front of your face. Just click on get them tickets.
And then your contact information. And are you still doing your free consultations?
Yes, I am. I am doing free business and tax consultations as well as bookkeeping consultations up until April the 15th. My normal consultations are $50 to $100 for 30 minutes to an hour. But right now I'm doing it free because, it is tax season. So I do specialize in the trucking and real estate tax industry. So if you are a trucker, if you're a realtor, I can assist you. I would love to assist you. You can book a consultation on that same website at the very top of my page. As soon as you get to it, just click on schedule consultation and it'll be right there in your face. Same thing. But if you want to reach me on any of these social media platforms, it'll be at Top Tier FBS, and that's TIER, F as in Frank, B as in boy, S as in Sam.
Okay, well, thank you so much because we've done 5 sessions. So I really appreciate your time, your expertise, everything. I think it has been very helpful. And as I said, we will definitely see Ms. Fulton again. Next week, we are going to be discussing how to increase your credit score. This is piggybacking off of the last 3 sessions because we had some things that were happening as far as scheduling. So we're going to get this last one out. Then after that, we are going to be having a grant writer, and we're going to discuss how to write grants, things to look for, etc. I don't know if that's going to be 2 courses. Well, not courses, 2 sessions, 3 sessions. We haven't, ironed all that out, but that's going to be coming up after that. Then we're going to do a little bit of marketing. So Mondays, today is Wednesday because we had to get this one on and out of the way, but Mondays are definitely going to have a lot of information and a lot of individuals that are in the industry that you can reach out to provide some of the services that you might need for your business. So with that, like the video, subscribe to the video, leave a comment. Ms. Fulton, thank you again. We want you all to enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you all for joining us. Please share. I probably should start saying that. Share the video with people on your what is that? Your Facebook, Instagram, maybe. I don't know. Oh, and we're gonna have somebody that's gonna talk about TikTok, how to use TikTok, because I don't know how. So I know this person has over like I think 1 million. What I don't know how TikTok works, but she has 1 million, right? So that's coming up as well. But anyhow, enjoy your evening, and thank you for spending time with us this evening.
All right, y'all have a wonderful night.
Bye.
Bye.